Alright, so Chapter right here. Uh, the missing 6-year-old whose mother was found deceased by her parents' suicide in Minnesota. First, kind of like the notice, and I don't want it to be over there. So right now, just sound check is good. So tonight we're going to talk about Elle Ragin, and these news articles aren't going to be in any particular order. I found 4 or 5 that I really want to share with you in the video, and I have a few questions. First, I want to go over the timeline. So we have 5 key dates in Elle's disappearance. The first is going to be June the 19th, which is when Elle was last seen. Now, the articles that I came across just said that she was last seen. It didn't say by who. But I'm going to assume that she was last seen by an independent person, um, a reliable family member, a family friend, a neighbor, uh, maybe a convenience store clerk that recognized her and her mom and knew exactly who they are. I saw her in here today, but verified most likely by the independent source, independent sighting. Now, the next key date is 2 days later, on June 21st. On this day, Lisa Wade drove over 100 miles from her home to the Mississippi River Park in Stearns County. And that was about 12 noon that she did that. Now, I couldn't find any information other than that on the 21st and nothing for the 22nd. The next key date is the 23rd, 2 days later. And at about 9 a.m. at this same park, Lisa seeks help from law enforcement because she apparently lost her keys and phone while she was hiking in the park. Okay, based on what she said, that she was hiking in the park, I'm assuming that she spent 2 days in this park because otherwise they would have some type of record of her renting a hotel room or a friend who could say she stayed with me overnight or 2 nights or whatever. Um, Surveillance cameras are everywhere. Even if she slept in her car in a Walmart parking lot, there would have been some type of video. So I'm guessing she stayed in the park for 2 days. Now, 2 days later, we have another key date, which is 6/25. Now, on 6/25, Lisa had some kind of contact with family members, and the family members remarked that she seemed distraught. They didn't say how, if she was crying, if she was upset, acting strangely out of character or whatever. They just said distraught. She seemed distraught. Obviously, since the last time Elle was seen was 6 days previously on the 19th, Elle was not with her when her family saw her and she was acting, she seemed distraught. The next key date is going to be 7 days later. And that's going to be July the 2nd. That is when Lisa was found dead at home with a suicide note. And although I haven't been able to track down the whole suicide note, it's out there, but apparently where it was posted, it was taken down. I'm looking to see if I can find somewhere else that is posted, but I haven't yet. The suicide note, the only information I can get from it is 3 sentences. says, Elle is dead. I love you all. I am so sorry, 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 sorry. Now, sometime during the search, they moved the search from, I guess, they originally started searching in Northfield, which is where her home is. And after her keys and phone, because her keys, her phone, and Elle's phone were found in the Mississippi River Park where she had driven to on the 21st. Her her phone, her keys, her purse were found in water. Elle's phone was found on land. No information about how far apart they were found. If they were found relatively within feet of each other, relatively close together, or Elle's phone was a few yards or a few hundred yards away, or what. All we know is that Elle's phone was found on land. Lisa's phone, purse, and keys were found in water. So I'm going to stop right there. We're going to go over these articles because I have some thoughts on this that I want to share and maybe hear what you have to say about all of this. Now, when the phones and other stuff were found, it says that the search moved to the park, the Mississippi River Park. So that's what leads me to assume that the search originally started in the Northfield area, that they were looking for Elle somewhere in her hometown. So let's go to this article. This article is from bringmethenews.com, and it's entitled Property Owners Are Asked to Monitor River Shorelines in Ongoing Search for Elle Ragin. Authorities investigating the disappearance of 6-year-old Elle Ragin are now asking property owners to keep watch on their own Mississippi River shorelines. The search for Elle, who was discovered to be missing after her mother died by suicide in Northfield on Saturday, has been focused on the Mississippi River County Park near Rice, Minnesota. The Northfield Police Department has said investigators have reason to believe Elle's mother, Lisa Wade, was involved in Elle's disappearance before taking her own life. On Tuesday, Northfield Police Chief Mark Elliott said investigators focused their efforts on the Stearns County area after learning Wade had visited the rural park twice in the days since Elle was last seen in mid-June. Okay, so she visited the park twice. We're going to go to that article and see what they're talking about there too. So far, the search of the Mississippi River County Park has turned up Elle's cell phone and Wade's cell phone and purse. On Wednesday afternoon, the Stearns County Sheriff's Office said investigators believe Elle might have been at the park at one point, but she's not been located after an extensive 3-day search involving volunteers, canine units, sonar, helicopters, and divers. I read another article that also included drones in the search. The Stearns County Sheriff's Office is requesting anyone living along the Mississippi River from Mississippi River Park to the Sartell Dam to monitor your shorelines for any items related to this investigation and to promptly call either Benton County or Stearns County Sheriff's Office if they notice anything unusual. While the Sheriff's Office said it'll continue to monitor the river area over the next few days, the Mississippi River County Park has reopened to the public after being closed during the search. Anyone with information related to Elle's disappearance is asked to call the Stearns County Sheriff's Office at 320-251-4240 or the Northfield Police Department at 507-663-9302. So, let's go into this article. Ongoing search for Elle Ragin is a heartbreaking case. The search for Elle Ragin, a missing 6-year-old girl whose mother died by suicide in Northfield on Saturday, continued Tuesday afternoon. We are still extremely hopeful, but based on the information and evidence that we have at this time, we are concerned that we may not be able to find her, Chief Mark Elliott said during a press conference Tuesday afternoon. On Tuesday, Elliott shared new details about the information that led investigators to concentrate their search on the Mississippi River near Rice, Minnesota. The Mississippi River County Park, where investigators began searching Saturday, remains closed while search teams conduct operations on the water. On Saturday, the Northfield Police Department stated it has reason to believe Elle's mother, Lisa Wade, was involved in the Elle's disappearance before taking her own life. Police found Wade dead inside her home on Saturday after a family member requested a welfare check. According to Elliott, Elle was last seen on June 19th. Cell phone data revealed Wade drove to the park in rural Stearns County 2 days later. That day, around 3 p.m., Wade's cell phone turned off and never turned on again. Again, on June 23rd, Wade visited the park. Okay, so she visited the park on June 19th around 3 p.m. Let me make a note of that. Let me add that to the list. Okay, and again, on June 23rd, Wade visited the park. I should have read this article the first time, but I really didn't notice the hyperlink. That day, deputies interacted with Wade and helped her arrange for her vehicle to be towed after she told deputies she lost her phone and car keys while hiking. Wade's family members tell law enforcement that Wade seemed distraught during the following week, Elliott said. Additionally, surveillance footage captured Wade at various locations between June 23rd and July 2nd, but Elle is not seen with her, which law enforcement consider very unusual. The mother and daughter were usually together and had a, quote, very close relationship, Elliott said. So far, the search of the Mississippi River County Park has turned up Elle's cell phone and Wade's cell phone first. Elle's phone was found on land, Elliott said, and Wade's phone, purse, and keys were found in the river. There's no known connection between Wade and the Stearns County area, Elliott added. This is a very difficult investigation for everybody. We have on this team, he said, this is a heartbreaking case. Elle is 3'6" and 45 pounds with brown curly hair and brown eyes. Anyone with information is urged to call the Northfield Police Department at 507-645-4477 or 911. So there's a little bit to unpack in this article. But the main thing that stands out to me is that she was seen in all these places without her daughter, which is odd because there's another article that I'm not going to read because most of this is the same. Most of what's in this article is the same as in the other. But the person said that you rarely ever saw one without the other. So the way that they expressed that made me think that Lisa was not one of those mothers who was in the habit of getting babysitters or dropping her kid off at her mom's or a friend's house so that she could run around and do whatever. She's one of those mothers who always had her baby with her. And so for her to be seen so often over the course of a week without her baby with her leads me to believe that whatever happened must have happened on the 19th. Now, I've got some more thoughts on that, but before I get to that, I want to this is the article that we're not going to read because it's essentially the same as the one that we just read. Yeah. Kind of pulled up and I read them, but that's a lot of reading to try to remember exactly what's in what's in each one. Okay, so we're going to watch this video.
And I'll kind of update where the investigation is. And
And this is kind of a longer video, but I'll be commenting throughout.
Good. As I said, I'll start out with just a brief recap. So this is an update on the investigation of missing 6-year-old Elle Ragin. As of this time, authorities have been unable to locate Elle. We continue to ask for the public's assistance in sharing any information that they have concerning the disappearance of Elle Ragin or her current whereabouts. Officers and agents have followed up on hundreds of leads and case information that have developed in the past 3 days, and this was first reported on July 2nd at about noon. A recap of that original call is that the Northfield Police Department was sent to a residence at 604 Maplebrook Court in Northfield by a call from an extended family member. Police discovered an apparent suicide of the 39-year-old resident that was ID'd as Lisa Wade. We were unable to locate Wade's 6-year-old daughter, Elle Ragin, at that time. Police searched the house and surrounding area with officers, canine teams, drones, and a helicopter. We did not locate Elle or any other evidence outside of the home. The initial investigation revealed that Wade may have been involved in the disappearance of her 6-year-old daughter before taking her own life. Since that time, the investigation has continued and it has revealed the following information. Elle was last seen on Sunday, June 19th. On June 21st at about noon, Lisa Wade drove from her home in Northfield to Mississippi River Park in Stearns County, just outside of Rice, Minnesota. We learned this information obtained through cell phone records that were obtained through a search warrant. At about 3 p.m. on that day, her cell phone shut off in the area of the park and has not turned on since that time. On June 23rd at about 9 a.m., Stearns County deputy had contact with Lisa in the park.
So I kind of want to wonder if turning off the phone was intentional so that she couldn't be tracked as to where she went in that park, because that park is huge. Let me pull this up real quick. Let me show you this real quick. That park is huge. We're going to come back to that. So you can see this park is huge. There's a lot of tree coverage in there. There's a lot of places that you could hide. There's a lot of places that you can hide a person. And even though there's a lot of like open space, you can see here, well, look how dense these trees are. Look how dense these trees are over here. All through here. Over here. And so I want to wonder if turning the phone off was to keep from being tracked as to which part of this park she was in. Now, before I close out Google Earth, I want you to see how far apart. This is how far away she drove. Let me put north up. This is how far away she drove. Over 100 miles. So here's home. Northfield. Not too entirely big. and drove all the way up here. And for what? If she has no connection to the area, like you just said. Let's get video back up.
And at that time, her vehicle was parked at the park. She told the deputy she lost her phone and car keys while hiking the trails in the park and she needed assistance. She was alone at that time, and the deputy assisted her in arranging for a tow for her vehicle to a local dealership to get a new key. During the week of June 25th, Lisa had contact with family members and seemed distraught. When officers learned of the Mississippi Park location, teams of canines, drones, dive teams, underwater search drones, along with public safety search teams, searched the park and the Mississippi River, getting her driver's license and vehicle key fob in the river. The search of the park and the river is ongoing, and the park in this portion of the river is closed to the public at this time by order of the Stearns County Sheriff. Investigators have been able to locate video of Lisa between June 23rd and July 2nd at various locations, but Elle was not seen with her at any of those times. An autopsy was performed on Lisa Wade, and we are awaiting lab results for the final autopsy report. The BCA Crime Lab has completed processing of the home, and lab analysis is pending on any items of evidence that we've recovered, as well as additional analysis of her vehicle. Lab analysis of the items that recovered in the park is also pending. This is an open and active investigation. We will have updates and new information as it's discovered, and we'll be sure to update you folks. We are continuing to get a very high level of support from the Rice and Stearns County Sheriff's Department, the Minnesota BCA, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Minneapolis Field Office. And with that, I will take a few questions.
You have reason to believe at this point that Elle's body may still be then in the park.
Yeah, with the information I provided, obviously we don't know that for sure, but we think it's a pretty good guess, and that's where we've concentrated our search efforts at this time.
When the family member said she was distraught, did they elaborate? Is there anything you can share about how she was distraught or whatnot?
Yeah, there's nothing I can share at this time about that.
I guess in that same vein, is there anything you can share about the relationship between the mother and daughter, and if those family members had said anything that would led to what this outcome you possibly be?
Yeah, what has been described to us is that Elle and her mother had a very close relationship, that it was very uncommon to have one seen without the other. Outside of work or school, where they would be separated, it was just very, very uncommon to see one without the other.
When we talked to you on Sunday, you were holding out hope that you could find her alive. In the last 24 hours, has that changed?
We are still extremely hopeful, but based on the information and the evidence we have at this time, we are concerned that we may not be able to find her.
When the deputy encountered her in the park, was she in her car, outside her car? What was she doing?
She was outside of her car. A park maintenance employee actually encountered her first and contacted the deputy. So she was outside of her car. She was conversational with the deputy at that time as far as needing assistance with being locked out of her car. That's something that
I kind of wonder why they're so certain they're not going to be able to find her. They seem pretty confident that they're not going to be able to find Elle.
I would say would not be all that uncommon for law enforcement, especially when you start talking rural, around county or state parks, that occasionally people lose their keys, that type of thing. So I would say that the encounter seemed appropriate at that time.
You said her keys and her phone were found in the river or in the park?
They were found in the river.
How close were they to Elle's phone?
They were not in the immediate location, same location, but they were within the park.
Was Elle's phone in the river too, or in
phone was found on land, and it
We
was
need
not an
more
active cell
information
phone.
about distances.
Are you aware of anything that would have changed in Lisa's life recently that would
But you
have
said Elle's cell phone wasn't active.
an atmosphere for anything that could have happened? I mean, obviously, something that led to suicide.
I would say that that's obviously a focal point for our investigation, and that we are continuing to look into that.
What areas did you have were on video when the child wasn't present?
That's not something we'll discuss at this time.
Have you been able to find any other witnesses who were in the park that saw them there that day?
We have not talked to any witnesses that would have seen her in the park. Certainly, we would encourage folks, if they have had contact with her or had contact with her at the park, to let us know that.
I would assume that a fairly well-used park, you would think that there were innocent people there that day at the same time.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Stearns County parks, so hard for me to say. It is fairly rural. It's outside of Rice, which is a small town, north of Sartell, St. Cloud area, but fairly rural.
Did she have any other connections to that area that would bring her there?
Not that we're aware of at this time.
What's next?
Well, we're going to continue a very diligent investigation, especially around that park area. I think some of your news helicopters have been up there today, and certainly we've had search teams out there, and we'll continue to do that. At this point, we've spent well over a day and a half now searching the river in that area. But we'll continue to look there, as well as follow up on any other leads and tips. I know we've gotten tips that continue to come in, and we're continuing to follow up on those.
Do you have kids?
Pardon me?
Do you have kids?
I do have kids.
We appreciate your info as long as it's also as a father, as a community member, where's your heart and your head right now?
This is difficult. This is a very difficult investigation for everybody we have on this team, whether they have kids, their nieces, nephews. This is a heartbreaking case. 6-year-old being missing, I can't think of one that is much more difficult to investigate than this.
The park is the focal point of your investigation. Are there any other areas still in the Northfield area that you were searching?
We don't have any other solid leads at this point that put a geographic location in Northfield. Like I said, that initial search revolved around the home, and it did not reveal any information that was useful outside of the home.
Chief, do you think the two were there alone, or do you think there's somebody else maybe with them? Are you looking for anyone else?
That would be speculation, but at this time, I don't believe we have any information that would lead us to believe that there is somebody else involved with Elle's disappearance.
How long will that park be closed off and searched?
That will depend on the search teams that are there. We have some very experienced search teams up there, and once they get to the point that they feel that their physical search and the technology that they use to assist them has satisfactorily cleared that area, they'll be clear from that.
What kinds of searches continue?
At this time in the park, it is focused on river search.
I'm wondering what kind of technology they're using, because we hear a lot with EquiSearch about them having the FLIR and the heat-seeking technology and the technology that can pick out like one spot of color, in large areas. And so I'm wondering what type of technology exactly they're using in their drone searches.
Sonar, that sort of thing.
Yes, and I haven't ever been part of a underwater search team, but as I understand, they have some.
I'm also wondering if maybe they're getting a little bit of tunnel vision, since he's saying that they're focusing mainly on the river. Since you have so much other park area there, maybe they're focusing on the river because Lisa's person phone and stuff was found in the river, or maybe Elle's phone was found near the river because they really didn't give distances, like how far was the car from the water, how far was Elle's phone found from the water, or from the car, or from uh, Lisa's things that were found in the river. So I have to wonder if maybe they're getting a little bit of tunnel vision. I mean, she had quite a few days with this part to have pretty much put this baby anywhere if that's what happened. So why not do more search on land or further inland away from the river?
Pretty advanced technology as far as side sonar location for underwater, and they are making the most of using those resources.
So what agencies then are all involved in specifically searching in the water?
I hate to leave any out, but some that I'm aware of, obviously the Stearns and Benton County dive team has been up there.
All right, that is actually pretty much the end of that interview, of that press conference. I watched it earlier. He kind of steps away right after that, and it's just kind of dead air a little bit. But here are some of the thoughts that I was having. Now, they talked about how close the mother and child were, and you really don't see one without the other. So I have to wonder, based on this closeness, is it likely that, okay, I can see it going one of two ways, right? I'm thinking accident, the possibilities are an accident, a murder, or something else. The probabilities are an accident or murder. And the reason I kind of want to keep accident on the table is because the wording of the note. She didn't say I killed Elle. She said Elle is dead. She didn't really even hint at how she died. I mean, I'm thinking that under these type of circumstances, if she had hurt Elle, then she would have said something like, she's sorry for what she did to her baby, or I killed my baby, or I don't know, some different type of phrasing. But she just said Elle was dead. The last time that Elle was seen alive was on 6/19, which is also the first time that Lisa visited that park. So maybe she really did go to the park to hang out with her daughter, and something happened to the baby at the park. That's a bit far north for like gators or whatever. But maybe some other type of animal, maybe it freaked her out. She couldn't handle it, what she saw. And seeing what she saw and losing her child combined led her to take her own life. Or maybe she was going through something else entirely, and this is solely mental health related. And whatever it was that she was going through, she decided that the best option was to take her own life. And in being so close with her child, she didn't want to leave her child without her. I'm just thinking out loud here. Another thing is that I was thinking about, they found the mother dead by suicide in her own home, but nobody knows where Elle is. If she did kill her child that she loved so much that they were so close that they were pretty much each other's shadows, if she killed Elle, would it make more sense that she would kill herself immediately after? Would it make more sense that she would die in the same place where her beloved child had died? Why kill the child and take the child somewhere else entirely, do all these other things, then come home and kill yourself? And I say that because when you love someone, you think more eternally about that person. That's why husband and wives want to be buried next to each other. That's why people buy family plots in cemeteries so that they can rest next to each other for eternity. So why would she kill a child that she obviously loved? Because in every picture I've seen, this child looks so happy. Her and her mother all smiles. Why kill the child and separate yourself? Did she have some other thought process going? Was she gonna try to get away with it? Or maybe the fact that she had killed her child was so overwhelming that it took a few days for it to really sink in, and then she took her own life. So we have two options that really stick out to me, and that's either accident happened and her grief led her to suicide, or it was murder. Some mental health issue led her to the killing, and the mental health issue is also responsible for her suicide. But I still can't get over these few questions. Why wouldn't she commit suicide immediately? Why hide the body? Why commit suicide in a different place than wherever Elle is? Then I have to ask myself, okay, let's look at it from a different angle. Did Lisa have a boyfriend? If so, could he or a girlfriend? Could her significant other have played some role in whatever happened to Elle? Did she have enemies? Because we know that just because people seem to have like this perfect life on the outside, we've seen so many times where there were other things going on in the shadows that nobody ever would have thought. Was there something else going on? Did she have someone who wanted to hurt her or her child, or hurt her by hurting her child? Was she living some type of secret life? What was her crowd like? What were her friends like? What type of people was she hanging around? So there are so many questions on the table right now. But I guess the main question still comes back to, where is Elle? And my thought is that she's in that park and not in the water. There are way too many places in there that she could have hid this child. So I'm gonna get off of here. I am about to go live on my gaming channel. I'll be streaming God of War, and tomorrow I will be back. I'm not sure what we'll be talking about tomorrow, but we'll be talking about something. There are so many cases, so many victims who need a voice, and tomorrow I will be here to be their voice. Good night. Thanks for joining.